Welcome to the Joy of Breathing. I'm Andy, and today I'm going to speak about Soma Breath, which is one of my favorite breathwork techniques, and hopefully make it as simple as I possibly can for you to either walk away from here with a yes or a no. Do I want to explore Soma Breath, or actually I'm okay. I'm going to look elsewhere. But for me, what happened is I did a breathwork session with Soma Breath. Luckily, I did a breathwork session with Soma Breath, and I just felt how good it felt in my body, and that was the yes that I needed. So that was one way, and then I started exploring the different options I had available, the different trainings I had available, and I just went down this rabbit hole of trying as many things as possible. And each one I loved and kind of fell deeper in love with the practice and the process. And again, that was enough for me to kind of go for it and become an instructor, become a facilitator, and now guide people in their own journeys with Soma Breath. So yeah, hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a bit more insight into what's involved, the benefits of Soma Breath, and where you can go to actually trial it yourself. So Soma Breath has the objectives of Soma Breath, I could say. There's a few different reasons why this technique is designed. One is to help people breathe in through their nose, which sounds very basic, but many people often breathe in through their mouth, which can cause a little bit of inflammation, a little bit of tension, whereas breathing in through the nose can really create a sense of calmness in the body. Number one, it just takes longer for the air to reach the lungs from the nose. So it's not this kind of big jolt that happens to the body. It's also warmer as it passes through the nasal passage into the lungs. It's filtered better. So this is one very simple, basic breathing habit that can be brought about from Soma Breath. And pretty much always, they always encourage breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth during their breathwork technique. And another benefit of Soma Breath is to engage the diaphragm, which is another healthy breathing habit. If we can breathe in through the nose and engage the diaphragm, we can really start to create a healthy set of breathing habits that can support mental health and physical health. So there are two. Another one is to breathe into the belly and also breathe less, right? Because I'll get to this in just a minute, but breathing more, weirdly, is actually, weirdly, I think intuitively, if someone said breathe more, you'll feel better and more energized, I'll be like, yeah, sure, that sounds probably true. But in my experience of that, the opposite is true. I feel like tight and tense and alert and just a bit discombobulated. So this technique really aims to help people breathe less, and that can create a sense of calmness and peace and healing effectively. So there are a few of the benefits. Others include lowering stress, improving heart health, improving sleep and digestion, and even Niraj himself recovered from a very chronic illness. So it can, over time, really start to release these autoimmune diseases and other areas of health that want to be improved. And yeah, I mean, the results speak for themselves. I won't go into them now. But Niraj Nayak, the founder of Soma Breath, is case in point. You know, he healed himself of a very chronic illness, and that was the key for him to share this wisdom with the world, which I'm super happy about. Now, Soma Breath has four main components, really. One is the rhythmical breathing part, the active breathing part that I just spoke about. So essentially, it's breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth, and it's always in a rhythm. So the rhythm can change, but normally it's in for 2, out for 4, or in for 4, out for 4. And that's essentially just in for 2 seconds, out for 4 seconds, or in for 4 seconds, out for 4 seconds, in this rhythmical, cyclical motion where there's no pause at the top of the inhale or the bottom of the exhale. And it just goes round and round and round, and it creates this state of heart coherence, or a coherent state, which as each breath goes through in this rhythmical way, and the digestive system, the nervous system, the heart, the brain, and each and every cell can also follow that rhythm. And it just creates this sense of calmness and tranquility in the body. Because when it feels the same as having a conversation with someone. If the conversation is nice and relaxed, there's a smile on the face, the shoulders are relaxed, it's easy to communicate, clear thinking, positive attitude. It just becomes very apparent that's happening between two people. When the conversation is very difficult or like jagged and sharp and edgy, the shoulders are tense, the eyes are dilated, the nervous system's a little bit more on edge. And that often can create a certain way of communicating that's just not so happy and fun. So there's rhythmical breathing in that way, breathing in a rhythm, can really create a sense of better communication within the body, within each cell. And that then has endless benefits, really. But one of them is better health and healing. The second part of Soma Breath is called breath retention or intermittent hypoxic training. This can get very, very, very complicated and deep in the science. And very necessarily so as well. It can be beautiful to kind of learn all this stuff and really go deep into the science and the case studies that support it. But it can also be explained quite easily too. So after we've gone through the rhythmical breathing part, roughly 40 breaths or 5 minutes worth of breathing, we'll then breathe out and then hold that breath. Now, one of Soma Breath's main components or main reasons for existing is to help people breathe less. Our first impulse to breathe comes from a need to expel carbon dioxide, not because we need more oxygen. So whenever we need to breathe, it's not because we need more oxygen. It's because we need to obviously get rid of a little bit of excess carbon dioxide that's still stuck in the lungs. So if we can extend that urge to breathe out, obviously we won't need to breathe in as quick. And this really, over time, over 20,000 breaths, which is roughly how much we breathe every day, if each one of those just extends a fraction, it will compound over time and we'll breathe less. So this is Soma Breath's way of doing that, and intermittent hypoxic training has been known and designed for exactly this reason. So as we hold our breath out, we train the body to actually become more carbon dioxide tolerant. And this then strengthens the lungs, strengthens the brain to then not kind of worry about the fact that the breath has stopped. And it actually goes very deep inside the brain. It goes to the limbic system and the reptilian brain, which is kind of where our fear response lies. So whenever the breath stops, the brain is obviously like, okay, the breath has stopped. If it continues to stop, it's then like, okay, like we better breathe, come on. Over more time, that fear response reduces, and then suddenly we can sit with no breath for quite some time. Initially, it might kind of ring the alarm quicker than normal, but over time, it starts to just relax and surrender into that, and that allows us to stay with no breath longer. And then that allows us to become more oxygen efficient effectively, which is the other part of this technique. So when we breathe in oxygen, well, if we breathe in a lot of oxygen, there's not enough time for that oxygen to get down my windpipe into my lungs and then past the membranes that hold the lungs into the blood and then through the blood and through the body, because it's just continuously coming in and out. So what happens is there's like very little that gets into the blood, and like it can cause a little bit of just unnecessary tension. But if we take nice deep inhales, each breath has so much longer to get down into the lower lobes of the lungs and through the membranes and into the blood, and then pumped by a slower beating heart through the body, that each cell can have more oxygen because there's more oxygen available. We become more oxygen efficient because we're using more of the oxygen that's coming in, which again allows us to breathe less and just work less, which has a number of benefits on all different systems in the body, on the immune system, the nervous system, the endocrine system, the digestive system, the skeletal, the muscular. So many parts of this can actually benefit from the breath, from a smoother breath. And this is what this technique is designed for. So that's the two parts of each round, the active part and then the passive part. The rhythmical, engaged breathing part, and then the holding the breath part. The third component of Soma Breath is the wonderful, wonderful technique of chanting. This isn't for everyone. Not every instructor, every practitioner will invite their participants to chant. But personally, I love it. I find it such a wonderful thing to practice and just play with. It's like such a wonderful, playful tool to explore. So there's loads of different versions of it, but normally we'll start with an Om. So Om for long periods of time, and it just can create this sense of opening up the throat area, activating the pineal gland, the third eye in the brain, stimulating nitric oxide in the body, which has fabulous lung opening and blood vessel opening capabilities. It's also anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, so all of these different goodnesses that come into the body and allows us to take in more oxygen. That increases 15-fold when we chant, which is quite an incredible scientific discovery. It also just feels great as well, so that's why I love this. That's why I love this part of the technique. The fourth part is all about intention. So there's a bunch of science on this as well. I won't go into it too much, but science and mysticism are kind of formed in this wonderful thing called an intention. And effectively all it is setting an intention, feeling the emotion of that intention, and then breathing with it long enough where we get into a place of believing that intention is true and embodying it so we can actually live it out. Kind of sounds a bit woo-woo and a bit kind of maybe hippy-dippy. But personally what I found is when I set an intention, it just allows me to focus my energy, focus my awareness on a particular reason why I'm sitting down to breathe that day. And it can be as small as wanting to have a good day, wanting to clear my busy mind, or just being with the breath, being with the present moment. It can also be big stuff as well, like wanting to reach out to family members that I'm not connected with, or healing some gut problems. It can be anything, as long as the intention is authentic and real. It can just bring a very focused awareness to the practice, and that can hold a number of different benefits to it. So to recap, Soma Breath consists of 4 parts: the rhythmical breathing part, the breath retention part, chanting, and setting an intention. These 4 really create a foundation for growth, curiosity, healing, health, and a deep connection to spirit. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll send in some links in the description below so you can explore Soma Breath yourself. There's a bunch of free options. There's also the trainings you can go into, and also the facilitation you can get into as well if you really love the programs. So all the best on your healing journey. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions around the technique or anything around this content. Let me know, and I'll try and answer them as best I can.